My sister forged Grandpa's will, so I used his smart TV to expose her $1 million fraud. The smart TV outed my sister before I could. It auto-synced her screencasts and, during Grandpa's memorial slideshow, popped open her rehearsal file. Final will _V7 PDF. Her voice filled the room. Soft voice here. Say sentimental items. Then a banner slid across the video. Donuts at bank back door, 8:55 p.m. She fumbled the remote. I didn't need to say a word, the playlist did. Practice readings. Google searches. Notarize without the person. A 2:13 a.m. login to Grandpa's joint account. The farm, the house, $1 million in assets. Suddenly, not abstract. That was the bomb. Rewind with me to the toner-smelling will reading where it started. Grandpa wasn't fancy, but he was precise. Crossed sevens, tight loops, ledgers that could shame a calculator. If a man was a font, he was Garamond with a mechanic's thumbprint. He kept a stained pen in his breast pocket like a promise and called shortcuts theft with better PR. When he died, he left 3 things you could bank on: fences that held, books that balanced, and a family that didn't. My sister Lorna loved to call herself Stability. She wore it like a blazer. She alphabetized her herbs and other people's boundaries. Self-appointed executor before the obituary ink dried. My Uncle Pete, loud spender, louder opinions. The kind of man who thinks a gas card is a personality. Cousin Maya specialized in gentle questions with sharp hooks. How are you coping? Translation: what price buys your silence? A new will appeared with a lawyer none of us knew. The paper smelled like a print shop. Toner, not time. Generic witnesses, names that might as well have been John Doe and Jane Neutral. The will said personal effects at their discretion, which is code for the good stuff goes where we point. The land, the insurance, the accounts, about $1 million on paper and a century in sweat, shifted in 2 pages and a signature that didn't look like the man who taught me to cross a 7 like my life depended on it. I'm the spreadsheet goblin in this family, Grandpa's phrase said with love and a side of caution. I noticed dates, margins, smudges. So when the surprise lawyer shuffled pages at the kitchen table and Lorna patted my arm like customer service, I smiled and sharpened my pencil. Stability isn't a vibe, it's provenance. And toner doesn't smell like provenance. Visit number 1, red flags at the will reading. We crammed into Grandpa's kitchen like a jury with snacks. The lawyer, Belle, sleek folder, polite smile, cleared her throat over the hum of the old fridge. Lorna took the head of the table like she was sworn in by a mirror. Pete drummed on the maple like he was auditioning to be annoying. Maya set a tissue on her knee, tear adjacent and camera ready. For the most recent testament, Belle began. New, I said, pleasantly. Who drafted it? Very standard, Lorna answered for her. We needed someone quicker than the man who still wrote checks in perfect columns. Belle slid the signature page over. I didn't grab. I let it land. Gerald P. Rowan. The G-loop was timid, a puddle instead of a hook. The downstrokes were light where Grandpa bit into paper. The date read July 14th, and the 7 wasn't crossed. He crossed 7s religiously since 1978 when a banker tried to turn a 7 into a 1. Looks fine to me, Pete said, chewing a grape like it owed him money. Where was this signed? I asked. Here. Kitchen table, Belle said too fast. I glanced at the table. If that table could talk, it would swear. Witnesses? She read. James Smith, Rachel Lee. Maya smiled softly. Neutral witnesses are best. Keeps peace. Neutral like a ghost, I said. IDs on file? Belle's smile thinned. We don't owe you an education in probate. Lucky me, I said, and took out Grandpa's birthday card from my pocket. His signature on the envelope was a fence post, confident, weighty, loop leaping like a fishhook. I took a quick photo of the will's signature. Insurance, not drama. Hard copies? I asked. Digital is cleaner, Belle said. Toner isn't, I said. Lorna leaned in, her leadership voice on. You wouldn't understand legal stuff. He told us he wanted stability. Grandpa told me to keep the books, I said. Stability is math, not vibes. She tried the bribe like a magician's first trick. Let's be adults. We'll make you comfortable if you withdraw objections. Put it in writing, I said. No need between family, she said. Then it isn't real, I said. Source of funds, please. Not the Shell LLC labeled BP Trust. Pete's fork clattered. Don't say siphon. Siphon, I said, sipping coffee. Belle pushed onward. Personal effects at their discretion. Who printed this? I asked. Our office. Which printer? Pete exploded. For the love of... Printers leave tracks like tires, I said. Yellow dot patterns, serials, examiners like puzzles. Belle gathered the pages. You're making everyone uncomfortable. Fraud tends to, I said. Maya's voice softened. We all want what Grandpa wanted. He called Mr. Dwyer the week he died to say he wouldn't sign anything new, I said. I watched Belle's eyes. A flicker. There it was. Chain of custody? I asked. Where did this lie from signature to today? In secure files, she said, which were open at the bank back door at 8:55 p.m. on Thursdays. I asked casually. Maya's tissue stopped moving. Pete stopped drumming. Lorna's smile calcified. Numbers don't lie, I said. Neither do habits. He crossed his sevens. He bit his downstrokes. He looped big when he felt sure. This signature is apologizing for itself. Belle said, You'll need an examiner. I already emailed one, I said. Yellow dots, baseline slant, toner feathering. He likes this kind of theater. Lorna stood, chair legs screaming. You will not drag our grief through court. You dragged a printer through it, I said, standing too. Fraud is neat. Grief is messy. That's how I spot it. Pete muttered. Drama. You sold the combine before probate, I said without looking at him. That's not drama. That's a subpoena. Maya followed me to the porch. We're family, she whispered. We can work it out. Then stop working it over, I said. I'm boring and relentless. Ask the ledger. Behind us, the lawyer shuffled pages that still smelled like toner. Ahead of me, the farm breathed like it always had. Steady, even, waiting. I texted the examiner. Rush. Probable forgery. Uncrossed 7. Timid loop. Toner edge. Also, printer ID. He replied with a thumbs up and a fee that promised pain. I smiled. Stability isn't cheap. It's documented. Discovery seed. The smart TV that wouldn't shut up. I stayed in Grandpa's house to water plants, which is family code for guard the ledger and my patience. Quiet night, cicadas, and the smart TV that came free with the internet bundle. I turned it on to run the memorial slideshow again and keep my hands busy. The screen chimed. New device connected. Lorna's iPhone. I didn't tap anything. The TV did? Auto sync on. Grandpa's movie night setting that grabbed anything cast on the home Wi-Fi and saved it to the media server. He set it up so game nights wouldn't vanish. Bless him, he made evidence a hobby. A folder popped. Presentations. Then another. Tutorials. Another. Practice. Inside, file names scrolled like confessions with good grammar. Final will. Olba PDF. Final will. Vervi 7. Undrilly. PDF. Practice undergrading interchoral audio 3M 4A. Slideshow mock. www. Tell you the TV previewed thumbnails without my help, each with those tiny overlay banners from her phone. Text at the top. Backdoor buzzer 8:55 p.m. Manager said okay. Another banner. Donuts for night crew. A calendar ping slid across. Thursday. Stability talk. W Bell. It was like watching a crime rehearse itself in sticky notes. I clicked the first audio. Lorna's voice, hushed like she was auditioning for empathy. Soft voice here. Say sentimental items slowly. Paper shuffled. Then she restarted. Sentimental items at our discretion. Tap. Rewind. Again. At our discretion. She even marked breaths. Between takes, her search bar glowed. How to notarize without person present. Phone as document camera best angle. Jitter hand fix and signature. The TV froze on a screenshot of her Google results. The ad at the top offered notary kits, 20% off. Next, a screen recording. Her phone mirrored a PDF editor. Grandpa's signature pasted into a blank, then erased. Then another looped G copied from a check image tutorial. She toggled pen thickness. She zoomed, traced, zoomed out, sighed. A pop-up texted in, Pete? Remember Seven's thing? Her reply ballooned. Don't cross it, looks older. A minute later, Maya. Say stability again, but warmer. The gallery flipped to photos. A bank login screen. 2:13 a.m. The joint account page still had Grandpa's name first. At the top, that midnight blue header every bank uses when it wants to look trustworthy. A quick Face ID unlock shimmered. Her reflection ghosted in the glass. Messy bun, sweatshirt, focused like a scalpel. She tapped BP Trust nickname and moved money in neat stacks that sat just under a line the app highlighted when amounts got nosy. The TV timestamp said, recorded Tuesday, 2:14 a.m. The lock screen wallpaper peeped, Maya's dog. Another folder, slides tone. She built a slide titled, How to Keep It in the Family, Legally. Bullet 1, use neutral witnesses. Bullet 2, say he wanted stability. Bullet 3, smile with eyes. The next slide placed a tissue box icon near the bottom of the screen. A note bubble read, put here for camera. I didn't need a smoking gun. I had a scrolling one. And the TV, stubborn and loyal, kept pinging. New content available. Screen capture. Printer setup. She'd paired a printer X420, serial ending 7QK. A quick test page printed with that faint honeycomb of yellow dots you can't see unless you're looking. My heart didn't race. It took notes. I backed out to the top-level server. Grandpa named the drive Movie Night, but inside were her other lives. Rehearsal, banking, search, photos, and the catch-all folder every sinner creates. Stuff. I clicked stuff. A voice memo labeled Bank Backdoor Practice. She whispered, we just need to grab forms. He's asleep. Another memo. If asked, he signed on the porch. He liked the morning light. I paused the TV and stood still long enough to hear the house breathe. Grandpa would have laughed without smiling. Numbers don't lie. Devices don't either. People do. Detective mode, but dumb easy. I opened the media server like a raccoon in pearls and started a catalog. Folder names, file names, timestamps, overlays, device serials. I read each quietly into my phone like I was dictating a grocery list for a very judgmental chef. Presentations, final will _v7 PDF. Tutorials, DocuSign Banking's joint architecture transfer _0214 AM MP4. Search, folder key, crossed 7 meaning. My notes stacked into a map no one could pretend was art. A screen recording titled DocuSign played. She demonstrated how to toggle Allow Proxy Signature. A rectangle popped. Senior unavailable? She clicked yes. A tooltip warned, not legal in all jurisdictions. She paused and dragged the box away from the warning. New overlay banner. Bell says court won't care. She erased the warning with a crop. She nodded to herself. She was directing her own downfall. Next, a search bar. How to notarize without person present. The autocomplete betrayed ambition. Notarize without person. Notary kit stamper align. Yellow printer dots lawsuit. She clicked an article. The TV grabbed the first paragraph. It screamed consequences in polite font. She scrolled past the words, chain of custody, like they were an ad for socks. Notifications kept gifting context. Pete, manager says backdoor is fine if we're quick. Lorna, donut smooth it. Maya, remember sentimental items, smile. Then a new one from a contact saved as K probate. Thursday at 9, bring will, no hard copies. She hearted it and screenshotted the heart. The TV dutifully copied that too. I paused the recording and zoomed in on the printer setup screen. Printer X420 series, serial Q47 to 2B7 QK. I took a photo of the TV with my phone and saved it to a folder labeled Yellow Dots Are Rat Snacks. I toggled to the photos album and searched Document. Up came a shot of the will on premium legal paper, a faint diagonal from a desk lamp, the shadow of her hairline at the top. Another shot captured the printer test page with the microdot matrix faintly glowing under the camera's noise. She had given me provenance with a bow. I backed out and opened banking/joint account _transfer _0214 AM MP4 again. I tapped pause on the account number tail, XXXX 4321. The memo field read, BP Trust Payout, Roof. The calendar app overlay at the top said Sunday, watch game at Pete's. I opened the hospital portal on my laptop and verified the MRI time she'd bragged about avoiding. Same day, same hour. His hand in a magnet, her hand in a wallet. I saved the side-by-side as a slide called Physics versus Fiction. A voice memo titled Practice Reading, soft, played. He wanted stability, so we... She stopped, sighed. So we ensured stability. She giggled, the wrong laugh. She restarted. My jaw didn't clench. My checklists did. I copied the server structure. Presentation/practice. Presentation/slide. Tone. Search/notary. banking/transfers. Devices, printer. I exported a manifest to a thumb drive labeled movie night. Evidence. Chain of custody mattered, even if she didn't know what she tripped over. I wrote the first line of my affidavit out loud just to taste it. Evidence was captured by the decedent's Smart TV autosync, which archives any active screencast session to an internal media server titled Movie Night. Then I hit the button no one in this family likes, share. I airdropped the manifest to my laptop, emailed it to the examiner with the subject scrolling gun, and attached 3 selected clips: the DocuSign proxy toggle, the printer setup with serial, and the 2:13 a.m. bank transfer. I CC'd Dwyer with a note. Bell at 9 Thursday. She says no hard copies. Before I shut the TV off, it pinged again. New content available. Printer dots test. Flashlight. Lorna had filmed a flashlight trick, angling light to make the yellow dots pop. She whispered, "So pretty." I laughed once, quietly. Then I whispered back to the empty room. They're numbered. Numbers don't lie. Neither do dots. And this TV? It wouldn't shut up. Good. We'd need it loud. Banking the pattern. Money trail montage. I built the crime spreadsheet like I was laying fence. Post, wire, until nothing could squeeze through. Tab 1. Ledger. Bank cornfield. Grandpa's neat entries versus reality. The withdrawals lined up like a drum line. $9,900, $7,800, $4,950, $3,333. Goldilocks numbers, big enough to matter, small enough to slip under the banks. Nosy thresholds. Memo lines read like bedtime stories for auditors. Roof patch, fuel advance, equipment tune, caregiver stipend. Cross-check the calendars. Those repairs happened on blue sky weekends when the only thing patched was Pete's hangover. Tab 2, ATM Atlas. I laid the map over time. Vampire hours, 11:07 p.m., 1:43 a.m., 2:14 a.m., 4:12 a.m. Drive-ups across 3 branches. Grandpa didn't do night banking. He did daylight and receipts. I color-coded each pull by card tail. 4321 linked to the joint. 2017 tied to Lorna's consulting. Little dots crawled across the map, then doubled back to the same convenience store where donuts live. Tab 3. Transfers. BP Trust. The nickname wasn't a product. It was camouflage. I listed every move from Joint 4321 to Shell LLC 88 to 117. Each sat just under $10,000, structured like an apology. Destinations. P.O. Box 447, Rowan Strategy, which is a lot of strategy for an entity incorporated 2 weeks after Grandpa's stroke. I matched ACH batch IDs to timestamps captured on the TV screen recording. They clicked like Legos. Tab 4, the MRI day. Hospital portal said 10:06 a.m. Gerald enters imaging. 10:45 a.m. MRI begins. Meanwhile, bank logs showed a power of attorney scanned at 10:52 a.m., signed on premises. Physics protested. I pasted both screenshots into a single row labeled, "You cannot be in 2 tubes at once." Tab 5, Donut Run. I scraped text overlays off Lorna's screencasts and sorted them. Backdoor 8:55 p.m., manager okay. Donuts for night crew. Then I pulled branch door logs. After hours entries matched her timestamps within 2 minutes. I added a column called Sugar Bribe. Sometimes petty helps you remember. Tab 6, Printer Dots. The X420 serial Q47-2B7QK showed up in the receipt I plucked from her trash. Date stamped 2 days before the will's signature. I clipped a high-res of the filed will's microdot constellation and overlaid it on the X420 grid the examiner sent. Spacing, offset, rhythm, and echo. In the notes, different document, same hive. Then I did the thing Grandpa taught me, reconcile with a pencil. I drew lines between the ledger's bank cornfield notations and the actual bank debits. Where his neat, ask Nora, not normal sat, I attached the corresponding ATM footage request. Where his shaky later hand wrote, BP Trust Reimburse, I highlighted the only reimburse I could find. $3,333 moved back on a Monday after a Friday late-night poll. Panic refund, not righteousness. I added witnesses to the sheet like bolts to a gate. Luis, seed drill and welder marched off the lot, license plate photo. Nora, 2 late-night visits, forms pushed. POA packet declined without Gerald present. Shoes described, because she notices. Compliance, internal memo. Post-termination credential used. The manager's login hopped like a flea between stations. Shared passwords, Fisher's phrase, control failure. The totals column hurt to read. Over 12 weeks, $126,415.23 walked from joint 4321 to shell 88 to 117. Another $18,900 bled from ATMs, mostly in 4s and 9s. Cashier's checks kissed the P.O. box with memo lines, retainer, and farm stability. Meanwhile, caregivers were paid by Gerald's checks, sturdy, honest, with cross sevens marching like soldiers. I pinned pattern notes to the margin. Thursday rehearsal, Friday night transfer, Saturday daytime denial, Sunday church, Monday one tidy reimburse, like laundering a conscience. Timestamps sang the same chorus. Backdoor 8:55 p.m., login 2:13 a.m., text stability at 9:02 a.m. to Maya. Finally, the picture nobody could ignore. I exported the workbook to a sanitized PDF with read-only permissions and big, boring page numbers. On the cover, in plain font, BP Trust payouts, pattern analysis. Inside, every dollar labeled, every hop traced, every lie stapled to a timestamp. Grandpa's phrase ran across the footer of each page like barbed wire. Numbers don't lie. I printed one clean set and slid it into a tabbed binder. Then I emailed the file to Dwyer, to the examiner, and to Fisher with the subject line. We had dots, now we connected them. My phone buzzed. Fisher replied, "Bring binder. Reversals start at 10:30. Good. The ledger wanted its apology. The farm wanted its money. And the dots? They were ready to testify. The practice tape. Rehearsal reel. I opened a file named Slides Tone, and it kicked off like a workshop no one should teach. Title slide in soft beige. How to keep it in the family, legally. Palette notes in the corner. Cornfield green, probate gray, comfort blue. A second slide showed 3 headshots of Grandpa cropped to the same smile. Underneath, a line. He wanted stability. The notes pane said, "Say stability like a blanket." She'd even inserted a tiny tissue icon bottom right with a speaker note. Place box here for camera. Dab once. Next, the camera rolled on practice Erskine reading Enter King will audio 3M4A. Lorna's voice came out warm like a space heater. He wanted stability, so we ensured. Sentimental items stayed. She stopped. A quiet laugh, wrong shape. Again. She reset the line, softened her vowels, and lifted at the end like she was offering a tray. Sentimental items. Another stop. Smile with eyes, she whispered, like she was giving her face directions. A split-screen recording followed. She'd drawn triangles over a screenshot of our kitchen. One triangle labeled eye contact zone. Rotate between Pete, lawyer, me. Arrows showed a path from napkin to pen to tissue. The note read, "Uncap pin before discretion, so sound lands." Beside it, a fake agenda. Grief, gratitude, clarity, discretion. She dragged the word discretion 5 pixels right and sighed like the pixels were heavy. A text banner slid across mid-take. Maya. Say, sentimental items, Kinder. Lorna paused the audio, adjusted her eyebrows in the front camera, then tried a sigh that sounded borrowed. He wanted stability. Another text. Pete. Less corporate. She dropped her shoulders, tilted her head, tried again. He wanted stability, counting beats with her finger just outside the frame. She backed up the recording 2 seconds, watched her mouth, and nodded as if she were approving a trainee. She had slides for stagecraft. One showed a top-down diagram of the table with tiny rectangles for plates and one rectangle labeled tissue. Another labeled pin, uncapped pre-rid. A dotted line led to a circle labeled camera sweet spot. The presenter notes, "Don't clack chair when standing. Scrape reads aggressive." A star next to pour water before at our discretion to look practical. Then the reel cut to a montage, quick and merciless. Neutral witnesses. Stability. Personal effects at our discretion. Her voice kept missing the truth by an inch. She practiced the pause after "we loved him" and tested different levels of inhale. In one take, she choked on the phrase "family first" and reset with a cluck of tongue. Again. In another, she tested 2 different smiles. Teeth, no teeth. Notes pane, no teeth. Somber. A slide titled Empathy Calibration appeared with 4 faces. Hers, mine, Pete's, Maya's, cropped from group photos. Each had sliders beneath. Anger risk, bargaining risk, interrupt risk. Mine had fact pattern typed next to it with a tiny spreadsheet emoji. Her reminder, don't go legal, go loss. Then came the blooper she didn't mean to make. She set the phone down, camera still rolling. Off mic, she muttered. If he says printer dots, smile. Say, you watch too much TV. She picked the phone back up, saw her own face, and smoothed her hair. A banner pinged. K. Probate. Thursday 9. Bring will. No hard copies. She hearted it, then recorded herself reading the heart as if it were scripture. She did a full dress rehearsal, lighting warmed, cardigan pressed, tissue placed precisely. She walked through the script. He wanted stability. She looked at the tissue. We're keeping sentimental items safe. She looked at Belle's empty chair in the diagram. At our discretion. The last line landed like a piece of furniture she'd moved too many times. I sat on that couch and let it play until the TV asked if I was still watching. I was. Because you only get one chance to see someone rehearse their downfall with this much care. It wasn't rage, it was choreography. And it told me everything I needed about where to put the camera when it was time to press play in public. Lawyer time. Examiner, dots, and motions. The examiner's office smelled like old paper and solved problems. He wore magnifiers like a jeweler and spoke in sentences that landed with stamps. He set Grandpa's deed, birthday cards, and the contested will under a cold light and grunted softly. The sound a mechanic makes when he hears a bad belt. Baseline first, he said, and traced the deed signature with a stylus that measured pressure. This is confidence. See the bite on the downstrokes? Here, loop height consistent, rhythm steady, even with age tremor. He slid to the will. Here's hesitation tremor. Stop-start around the loop of the G, then artificial smoothness on the exit. That isn't physiology. That's someone faking a shake and overcorrecting. He pointed at July 14th. And you're 7? Uncrossed. People don't drop 40-year habits on signature day. He tilted the page and clicked a polarized filter. The toner feathered on the edges under magnification, as if the powder sat on the fibers instead of sinking like wet ink. Laser print? He said. Likely a home device. I handed him the photo of the printer setup from the TV, X420, serial Q47-2B7QK, and the trash receipt with the same family. He smiled without warmth. We'll capture microdots off the filed copy and compare to that grid. Printers whisper. We teach them to testify. He scanned the will at cruel resolution and loaded a yellow dot extractor. A faint constellation bloomed in the margins, regular as graph paper. He overlaid the X420 family template. Grid spacing, offset, repeat interval, he murmured. Family match. Serial sequence? We'll confirm by counting micro-offsets. Manufacturers encode in the lattice. He typed a note. Probable output from printer X420 series. Serial inference pending dot cadence analysis. Then Dwyer slid in with coffee and a motion packet. We keep this boring, he said. Preserve the estate, freeze transfers, compel logs. He stacked my binder on the table like a brick. Exhibit A. Examiner preliminary. Hesitation trimmer. Loop height variance. Uncrossed 7. Exhibit B. Printer microdot family match plus purchase receipt. Exhibit C. Hospital MRI versus POA signed on premises. Exhibit D. Banking pattern. Structured withdrawals. BP trust. After-hours entries. Backdoor logs. He clicked his pen. We're not debating feelings. We're stapling timestamps to behavior. I added the TV chain of custody affidavit. Evidence auto-captured by decedent's smart TV via default movie night archive. Files preserved using read-only export. Device logs available. The examiner initialed the procedure. He noted, file provenance consistent. Overlays show native iOS banners. No signs of tampering. Timeline integrity observed. We walked across to court with pages that didn't care who cried. Belle tried a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Your Honor, the petitioner is emotional, she began. Dwyer didn't look at her. We're asking for preservation and targeted discovery. No more. He laid down the examiner's letter. The judge read silently, finger on the loop of that fragile G. Probable forgery, he said, almost to himself. He turned to Belle. Counsel, the uncrossed 7? Physiological variability, she said. The judge raised an eyebrow. Every July since 78? The room exhaled. Dwyer slid the dot analysis. The filed will bears a microdot pattern consistent with the consumer printer purchased 2 days prior under respondent's receipt. We'll need the court's authority to examine the original under magnification. The judge nodded. Granted. He scribbled. Produce original for non-destructive examination. Parties present. Then the MRI conflict. We presented the side-by-side, 10:45 a.m. MRI running. 10:52 a.m. bank says signed on premises. Dwyer didn't add flourish. He just let physics sit there like a witness. The judge tapped his pen. We preserve hospital access logs, he said, and security footage. Bell started to object, then thought better. Fisher arrived with a binder like a verdict. Compliance has opened a case, Your Honor. Preliminary internal findings, post-termination credentials used. After-hours backdoor entries matched to timestamps. Nickname BP Trust used to mask transfers. Reversals in progress pending court order. The judge peered over his glasses. You're reversing already? Fisher nodded. With the court's blessing. The judge signed the preservation and added a line. All institutions to maintain and produce device logs, credential trails, and surveillance corresponding to the dates presented. Bell tried one last angle. Family grief can look like fraud. The judge didn't blink. Fraud can look like family grief. He turned to me. Anything else? I handed up the TV affidavit. Devices don't lie, I said. People do. He read, then looked at Bell. Your client's no hard copies text? She stared at the table. Silence is a confession that doesn't help in court. Order entered, the judge said. Estate frozen. Records preserved. Original will to examiner. Bank to complete reversal subject to. Accounting. He paused. And counsel. Avoid back doors. Court prefers the front. We rose. Dwyer leaned over as we gathered the exhibits. Boring one, he whispered. The examiner lifted the will and his magnifier, and the dots will finish the job. Family movie night from hell, the TV reveal. I picked a Saturday and called it Memory Night. I invited everyone like it was a potluck for grief. Lorna arrived first, lip gloss set to leadership. Pete clomped in with a six-pack and a grievance. Maya floated behind them with a casserole and a fragile smile. Belle texted she'd swing by briefly, which is lawyer for I want to supervise the spin. I dimmed the lights, cued Grandpa's slideshow, and let the smart TV stretch its legs. The first 5 minutes were harmless. Grandma on a hay bale, Grandpa teaching me to set a fence post, a birthday where the cake leaned like a drunk chimney. People softened. Then the TV did what it always does when left unsupervised. It suggested recently added. The folder opened with that eager little animation. I picked up the remote, smiled a little too politely, and selected presentations. Why are we watching file folders? Pete asked. Because Grandpa loved movie night, I said, and this TV records everything cast to it. The thumbnail for practice reading Unsure Wall Audio 3 glowed. I clicked. Lorna's voice filled the room. Soft voice here. Say sentimental items. She inhaled in the speakers, then tried again. At our discretion. The tissue icon slid into the corner of the screen like a stage direction. Lorna stood so fast her chair squealed. Turn that off. Remote's right there, I said. I didn't hand it to her. A banner pinged across the recording. Donuts at bank back door, 8:55 p.m. Pete reached for the router like it had insulted his mother. I held up my phone. Go ahead. It's archived to local. Kill the Wi-Fi. The TV still remembers. I flipped to the screen recording of DocuSign practice. The proxy signature toggle appeared. Her finger dragged it on. A warning popped. Not legal in all jurisdictions, and slid off screen under her crop tool. A text overlay from K Probate chimed. Thursday at 9, bring will. No hard copies. Belle's knuckles whitened on her purse. This is out of context, Lorna said, voice thin. Context is the playlist, I said, and selected Banking Joint Account Error Transfer, Arstode 2:14 a.m. The bank app opened. 2:13 a.m. Her face ghosted in the glass. The BP Trust nickname tile pulsed like a bad joke. She moved $7,800, memo, roof, while the calendar overlay at the top reminded her watch game at Pete's on Sunday. Pete squinted. Is the time zone wrong? Nope, I said. Physics is the same here. Maya made a small, strangled sound. We should talk about feelings. We will, I said, after the receipts finish. I cued search/how to notarize without person. Her autocomplete coughed up. Yellow printer dots lawsuit. She clicked an article. The TV captured the line, chain of custody preserves authenticity. She scrolled past it like it was a salad. Then I opened the printer setup clip. X420, serial Q47 DOS-to-do B7, QK. The flashlight test played. She whispered, so pretty, angling the light to make the honeycomb appear. Pete lunged for the HDMI cable and managed to unplug nothing. I clicked again. The slide deck titled How to Keep It in the Family, Legally, bloomed in soft beige. The tissue icon winked. The notes pane read, "Smile with eyes." Lorna's breath hitched loud enough to register as a score. "You're taking private rehearsal and turning it into a circus," she said. "Court loves reruns," I said. "We're just doing a test screening." Bell finally stepped forward. "This is inadmissible without authentication." "Already authenticated," I said. "Device logs, chain of custody, examiner letter, bank compliance." I pointed at the screen just as the TV, still helpful, auto-advanced to the voice memo labeled Bank Backdoor Practice. Lorna whispered on the recording, "We just need to grab forms. He's asleep." The room went very, very still. Maya's eyes shone. "We can fix this if we stay calm." "You bought a notary kit the week you bought a printer," I said, and tapped the photo of the receipt I'd pulled from her trash. Date stamped 2 days before the signature. Premium legal paper, notary stamp, printer X420. The yellow dots on the file will match the grid the examiner printed. I didn't say that part. I let the TV sing. "Out of context," Lorna said again, smaller now. "Put it in context," I said. "Backdoor 8:55 p.m. Thursday, MRI 10:45 a.m. Friday. Proxy signature toggle. BP Trust at 2:13 a.m. slides about stability. Repeat." Pete tried a new tactic. "You always hated us." "I like fences that hold," I said, and hit play on one last clip, her practicing the line, "He wanted stability, 3 ways. No teeth. Somber. With a dab." Belle's phone buzzed. She glanced at it like it might offer asylum. It didn't. She exhaled and said, "We're leaving." "Great," I said. "Take a copy of the doc." "Preservation order with you." I handed her a fresh print. She didn't take it. Maya touched Lorna's arm. "We can apologize." "We can comply," I said. "Court's already freezing transfers. Bank's reversing. Compliance flagged a SAR." Pete stopped moving. "What's a SAR?" "A report that loves subpoenas," I said. The TV, as if bored of us, popped back to recently added. The thumbnail for final will _ re7 _ really sat there, smug. Nobody reached for the remote. We stood in the light of our own evidence while the farm hummed through the walls like a witness we couldn't intimidate. Then I clicked the TV off, not to save anyone, just to make room for the sound of consequences. Court, compliance, consequences. Court wasn't dramatic, it was fluorescent. We lined up our binders like lunch trays, Dwyer whispered. "Keep it boring." And I nodded, because boring was winning. Belle tried the grief card in her opening. The judge looked down at the will, finger resting on that timid G, then up at her. "Counsel, the uncrossed 7? She said physiology. He said habit. Then he read the examiner's letter, murmured probable forgery, and signed the preservation order like he was checking off groceries. Fisher slid in with a binder that clicked when it hit the table. Compliance opened an internal case. Preliminary. After-hours backdoor entries logged at 20:55 on multiple Thursdays. Post-termination credentials used. Nickname BP Trust obscured transfers. Were freezing and reversing subject to the court. The judge nodded without looking at Belle. Proceed. Produce access logs, surveillance, and credential trails. Original will to examiner for non-destructive microdot analysis. Belle reached for indignation. Your Honor, theatrics. The judge raised a hand. We prefer the front door, not the back. He signed a second page. No property moves, no tests, no asset dissipation. Pete shifted like his chair bit him. The clerk's stamp thunked, and that sound traveled up my spine like a fence line going taut. Out in the hallway, Fisher already had legal on speaker. Freeze joint 4321 and shell 88 to 117. Flag all sub 10K withdrawals linked to Thursdays. Pull back door camera feeds. Capture keystroke logs for the manager station. She swiveled the screen toward me. Tiles turned gray as accounts iced over. A red banner slid across. Reversal initiated, pending confirmations. She typed, SAR filed, structuring pattern, elder risk, credential misuse, probable falsified POA. We went straight to the branch. Glass room. Same manager, forehead vein auditioning for a role. Fisher laid the order on the table and didn't blink. We need video for 2045 to 2130 on the dates highlighted. Also, your access override reports and notary kit logs. He started with policy, but the court order was a universal translator. Security uploaded clips. There they were. After hours buzzer, lights off, side door opened. A box on the credenza. Same brand as the notary kit receipt. Lorna's silhouette just at the edge of frame. Donuts like a sacrament. Fisher clicked reversal next to each BP Trust transfer. The numbers shuffled back across the line like chastened soldiers. A pop-up asked, "Reason code?" She selected Elder Exploitation, Internal Control Failure. Legal hummed in her ear. "Press release?" Fisher said. "No, court first, then regulators." She added a bullet. "Deactivate orphaned credentials. Enforce unique logins. Weekly override audits. Independent counsel review for all elder POAs." I pointed at the notary log. "And call listed counsel before accepting anything with my grandfather's name." She nodded and typed it. "Mandatory counsel verification. Gerald P. Rowan. Contact Dwyer." Bell materialized in the doorway. Smile stapled on. "We request you delay reversals pending." Fisher didn't look up. "Court authorized. You'll get the accounting." Lorna stepped in behind her, saw the gray tiles and the words, "pending negative adjustments," and went chalk white. Pete slapped the glass. "You can't just..." Fisher pointed to the order. "We can. We did." The examiner texted from his lab. Microdots pulled. "Pattern matches X420 family. Counting cadence suggests serial sequence consistent with your receipt batch. Letter tonight." I exhaled inches. Fisher added his note to the file, time-stamped, and snapped her binder shut. "We're done here. Originals to examiner by 3. Logs to me by 5. If they're not, I come back with a regulator and fewer smiles." Back at court for the addendum, Dwyer slid the bank's interim accounting onto the bench. The judge scanned totals, glanced at Bell, and wrote, "Reversals ratified. Interim distribution barred. Accounting continued." He turned to Lorna without softening. "Counsel, advise your clients that any further asset movement will be treated as contempt." In the hall, Maya tried a soft landing. "We didn't mean..." Fisher cut in, gentle as a scalpel. "Intent is interesting. Controls are better." She handed me a printed apology the bank drafted. "To the estate. We cover examiner fees, court costs relating to our control failures, and make a donation to the volunteer fire fund in Gerald's name." She looked at me. "He seemed the type." I nodded. "He counted their coffee cans at pancake breakfasts." Pete muttered, "You're ruining us." I answered without heat. "You did that. We're just doing math." Bell touched Lorna's elbow. "We'll respond." Dwyer gave me the examiner's preliminary. Hesitation tremor identified. Uncrossed 7. Toner feathering. Microdot family match. Probable forgery. Full report by morning, the examiner had handwritten. "Bring tea." As we stepped into sun that didn't care, Fisher fell into stride beside me. "Policy changes go to the board tonight. Press, regulators, the whole carousel, but quiet for now. When you're ready, I'd like you to consult on our elder risk training. Mornings. I hear you like fence lines." I said, "I like boring." She smiled. "We're hiring boring." Walking back to the truck, I realized punishment wasn't loud. It was forms, freezes, logs, and a judge who liked the front door. The TV had shouted, "Sure," but compliance whispered, and the ledger listened. The consequences weren't fireworks. They were receipts, and they were finally on our side. The reversal. Money goes home. Fisher walked me back to the glass room like a surgeon returning to close. The gray tiles on her dashboard refreshed, one by one, to a color I liked better than hope. Reconciled. "We'll do this in batches," she said. "Each transfer gets its own chain." She clicked the first BP trust hop on several on line 100, from joint 4321 to shell 88 to 1117, memo roof. A dialogue asked for a reason. She chose elder exploitation, internal control failure, confirm. A breadcrumb line drew itself backwards through the ledger, past the 2:13 a.m. screen recording, back into the estate account. It looked like money exhaling. The second, 7800, fuel, snapped back with a chime. Third, $459.50, equipment tune. Return like a dog that got bored running away. She paused at $3,333, the only one that had staggered back earlier. "We'll tag this as panic refund, not cure," she said, and coded it accordingly. The total reversal counter climbed, 12,333, 27,083, 41,033, 58,933. My jaw didn't clench. My shoulders did math. ATM pulls couldn't be clawed instantly. She flagged each vampire hour withdrawal and added them to the SAR narrative. Pattern structured under thresholds. Cash likely proceeds of improper access. An auditor slid in, initialed each line, and asked, "Photos?" I handed Luis's plate picture and Nora's notebook. Chain links clicked. "Good," he said. "We like witnesses with shoe notes." Fisher turned to the P.O. box checks. These we can intercept if not cashed. She clicked a status field. 2 were still in limbo. A call to Treasury, a hold placed, and then a reversal that felt like a seatbelt catching. That's $18,000 you don't have to wrestle in small claims, she said. Another click. And we're crediting examiner fees to the estate. Our mess, our mop. Legal patched in. We'll memorialize a donation matching the examiner fees to the volunteer fire fund, he said, trying to sound like a human. Board wants to show contrition. I glanced at Fisher. She shrugged. It's accurate. Fisher didn't look up. The manager hovered in the doorway like a warning label. Deactivate the orphaned K compliance profile, now, he stammered. She kept clicking. Also, implement unique credential enforcement by end of week and send me the attestation. He nodded too many times and vanished. Totals rolled up. $126,415.23 reversed from Shell and transfers. ATM cash flagged, pending regulator teeth. Interest credited back to the estate because time is a thief too. Fisher printed a one-page that said more than any speech. Reversal summary. Rowan Estate. She slid it across like a clean bill of health. We'll file this with the court today, she said. You'll get the ledger-level export for your records. We leave footprints now. Lorna appeared in the lobby, eyes hunting for a soft surface. Pete paced behind her with the energy of bad decisions. I didn't wave. The glass did it for me. My reflection steady next to bars turning from red to green. Fisher opened the door halfway. We've completed reversals subject to court oversight, she said, voice neutral. Future communication through counsel. Pete jabbed a finger. You stole from us. Fisher blinked, a slow, legal blink. We returned funds to their owner. If you object, bring a spreadsheet. Outside, Son didn't care. Dwyer called from the courthouse. Accounting received. Judge signed addendum. Reversals ratified. Interim distributions barred. He paused. Fisher's apology letter landed well. We'll append it to the file. My phone buzzed again. Examiner. Full report ready. Microduct cadence confirms X420 batch. Signer not decedent. I texted back a single word Grandpa would have liked. Copy. Back at the farm, I set the reversal summary on the ledger like a truce. The numbers lined up across a century and 4 bad weeks. I read the totals to the kitchen because the house had been listening. $126,415.23 returned, I said. The fridge hummed. The same key it always had. Stability is noise you can predict. Compliance sent the final strokes that night. SAR filed. Regulators notified. Credentials cleaned. Policy changes enacted. External counsel retained for elder risk audit. The board approved the donation to the fire fund and a training scholarship in Gerald P. Rowan's name. Fisher added a line that mattered to me more than any PR. We will call listed counsel on every elder POA, no exceptions. I replied, good. He liked the front door. I slept without the TV on for the first time in weeks. In the morning, I walked the fence line and counted posts the way Grandpa taught me. 1, 2, 10, the corner. Money had gone home. The farm breathed the same. The ledger sat quiet, but not because it was empty, because it had been heard. Settlement, the boring victory. We didn't get fireworks. We got a conference room that smelled like carpet cleaner and consent. Dwyer slid the settlement across like a placemat. Valid will reinstated, he said, tapping the first page. Grandpa's actual signature looked like a handshake you could stand on. The farm flowed back to where he wrote it should go. The insurance, the accounts, the land, all routed under language that sounded like him. Keep it honest. Keep it running. Lorna stared at the lines the way people stare at cliffs. We reserve our right to clarify, she tried. Dwyer pointed at the judge's initials. Clarified. Pete slouched, then straightened when Fisher added the bank's stipulation. Restitution complete? Examiner fees paid by the bank? Donation to the volunteer fire fund in Gerald's name? Staff retraining on elder risk. So you're heroes now? He muttered. Fisher said, no, we're late. The restitution schedule for what couldn't be clawed back read like a mortgage for shame. Monthly transfers from the Shell LLC's ashes back to the estate. Boring automation that wouldn't care if anybody cried. Maya whispered, it'll take years. I said, that's what years are for. She swallowed. We can't come on the property? Dwyer slid the boundary order. Trespass warning in effect until the court lifts it, for your sake and his fields. We moved through deeds like a slow parade. Title transfer documents wore stamps like medals. The clerk asked if we wanted commemoratives. I declined and took clean copies. The notary was the kind of woman who would have noticed shoe details. She checked IDs twice, then stamped hard enough to wake dust. Lorna flinched at the thud. "I hate the sound," she said. "It's the front door," I said. There was a clause I insisted on that read like Grandpa muttered it. No cash, no shortcuts. Vendors would invoice. We would pay. The ledger would hum. The judge didn't blink at the language. He wrote yes and underlined. We appended the boring stuff that keeps families from inventing emergencies. Shared calendar for pickups. No new debt on joint instruments. No testing fences. No equipment walks without court oversight. Pete signed like he was losing arm wrestling to gravity. Fisher handed me the bank's letterhead apology with a copy for the file. "We'll be requesting your input on the training," she said. "Mornings are yours." I nodded. "Fence runs at dawn," I said. She smiled. "I'll tell scheduling you like gravel." Silence finally sat down with us. Lorna traced the edge of the final page, then wrote her name where the line told the truth. She didn't look up. "I thought stability was a feeling," she said. I folded the papers into the folder Grandpa would have labeled neatly and said, "It's math." Pete asked if there was a world where we all eat Christmas together. "There's a world where nobody steals it," I said. Maya's hand hovered in that way people reach for bridges they burned. "I'm sorry," she said quietly, and for once it didn't sound like a performance. "File it," I said, not unkind. We walked out into a parking lot that didn't know our names. I drove straight to the farm and carried the stamp deed into the kitchen like bread. The ledger was in its place. I put the new pages on top and set Grandpa's stained pen across them like a paperweight. Louise came by after and asked, "We done?" "We started," I said. We drafted clean contracts, scheduled fence lines, unsubscribed from drama. That night, I sent a single text to the group thread we had scorched. Settlement signed, will reinstated, boundaries stand, keep it honest. No confetti, just the sound of a house exhaling. In the morning, I watched the field take light like it always does and said it out loud for an audience of one and a ledger. Boring one. Fallout and roast session. The town didn't hold a town hall, it held a comment section. Within a week, stability became a meme you could spread on toast. Teenagers edited Lorna's "He Wanted Stability" audio into a dub over the 4th of July parade video, right when the flag pauses. At Buck's Hardware, the tip jar read, "At our discretion." Someone crossed the 7 on the handwritten $7 July parade video for card sign and taped a tissue next to it. That got a laugh out of me I didn't try to hide. Lorna launched a PR tour that died in the replies. Her post, "Grief makes us do complicated things." Top comment, "Complicated like printer dots?" Second, a photo of a tissue box with googly eyes. She turned off comments and forgot the internet has scissors. Screenshots traveled faster than corn pollen. She posted again, "We're focusing on family." Someone added her flashlight microdot video with the caption, "She found the family." Cousin Pete discovered subpoenas aren't sandwiches. He tried to strut into the branch and talk to the manager. Fisher met him with a form and a pen. He called me after, breathless like he'd run from accountability. They asked for invoices. I said, "Bring." "Receipts that aren't from O'Malley's." He didn't. Meanwhile, Luis rolled back up with the welder, face set to stubborn. "I'll put it where it belongs," he said, and did. The clank sounded like furniture settling. Maya tried soft. She posted a carousel, Grandpa's picture, a quote about forgiveness, a close-up of a ceramic angel. The town replied with crossed 7s and a new trend. People taking photos of their pins uncapped, tagged #at our discretion. She DM'd me, "Can we call a truce?" I sent the settlement summary page, the line that mattered highlighted. Boundaries stand. She hearted it, and for once, didn't add a monologue. Aunt Dee cornered me at the grocery store between the flour and the decaf. "Christmas is ruined," she said, like I'd unplugged Jesus. I told her I didn't ruin it. I scheduled it. She huffed, then asked if we were still doing the white elephant. "We are," I said. "No printers." She laughed in spite of herself. At church, the usher crossed the 7 on the attendance board. He caught my eye and winked. The pastor preached about the narrow gate and looked at the front door twice. After the benediction, 3 people handed me old receipts from pancake breakfasts, moving in a line like a sacrament. He gave, we remember. I filed them in my head under Keep It Honest. Pete tried one last bark. "You made us look bad," I said. "You filmed yourself." His jaw worked like it missed instructions. Lorna passed me in the parking lot and chose the sky. Maya mouthed sorry. I touched my cap. The truth is quieter now. Fewer invites, more nods. The farm hums like a fridge that finally got leveled. I sleep through the night, The ledger doesn't have to shout. The TV is unplugged. It earned the rest. Bonus. Smart TV Forensics 101. Here's how the TV did half my job while I drank cold coffee and labeled folders. Grandpa's set lived on 2 defaults he never turned off: Movie Night Archive and Allow New Devices. That meant any screencast on the home Wi-Fi auto-saved to an internal media server he named Movie Night. No passwords, no prompts, just a polite chime, then capture. If your phone mirrored, the TV became a stenographer with perfect recall. First layer, device announcements. Every time a phone joined, the TV flashed "New device connected," names iPhone. It stamped the time. Those join-leave pings build a presence log without asking anyone's permission. Useful when someone insists they weren't there Thursday at 9. Second layer, notification overlays. If you screencast, everything riding your glass rides the TV. Texts, calendar pings, low battery nags, even those "remind me later" alarms. The TV dutifully burned them into the recording. That's how Pete's manager says backdoor is fine floated across a banking screen like a confession balloon. It's not a separate file, it's baked pixels. Lawyers love baked pixels. Third, screen recordings versus mirrors. Mirroring is live. Recording is captured on the phone, then played to the TV later. Movie Night archived both the live mirror and the recorded playback. How do you tell them apart? Mirroring shows gesture rings and orientation flips in real time. Screen recordings display the iOS scrub bar with a start beep. The archive saved both flavors, which matters when someone claims old tutorial. The TV timestamps proved performed last night. File structure, boring but golden. The server stored by app lineage, presentations, banking, photos, search. It didn't care about intent, it cared about source. Inside each folder, file names and modified dates stayed intact. That's why finalfinalwill_ver7 kept its shameful underscore. I exported a manifest that listed paths, sizes, create modify times. Chain of custody starts there. Color laser printers spray invisible yellow dots, minute grids that encode time, date, model family, sometimes serial cadence. Microdot extraction isn't magic, it's pattern math. The filed will's dots were faint. The examiner used a polarized light and high-res capture, then ran a template overlay for the X420 family. Family match says this hive. Cadence analysis, counting the dot offset rhythm, strongly suggested our receipt batch. If you ever doubt a page's origin, look for honeycomb under an angle. If you see it, you've got a passport. Audio metadata matters when people rehearse. Voice memos carry creation timestamps, device IDs, even mic model. Her practice reading clips had a consistent iPhone identifier that matched the device the TV announced. In court, that ties mouth to handset to living room without a narrator speech. What about deepfakes or edits? The archive's integrity lives in cross-checks. TV system logs, router DHCP leases, and the file's internal headers. Grandpa's TV kept a rolling log you can export. Device join at 2055, archive start at 2056, archive stop at 2119. The router listed Lorna's phone MAC pulling steady bandwidth in that window. The file header showed no recompression beyond the initial mirror. 3. Clocks telling the same time means nobody spliced bedtime stories into bank heists. Avoid contamination. I never renamed files on the source. I exported read-only copies to a labeled thumb drive, photographed the TV with a time-stamped phone, then wrote an affidavit. Where, when, how copied, which settings, who touched nothing. Chain of custody isn't fancy. It's boring honesty with dates. Finally, don't chase unicorns. Consumer gear captures enough if you let it. Leave defaults, collect logs, preserve originals. Devices don't take sides, they take notes. If someone ever says context, nod, and point to the playlist order, the overlay banners, the printer dots that glow like tiny caution tape. Evidence isn't loud, it's precise. Let it whisper, then put a stamp on it. Bonus. Money laundering by euphemism. Here's the trick they teach you in the church basement of bad ideas. Never say theft, say stability, then tuck it into memos that sound like chores. Structuring is the house specialty. You don't yank $12,000 once. You nibble $9,900 on Friday, $4,950 on Tuesday, and sprinkle $3,333 on a Monday that looks pious. You aim just under the bank's tripwires and call it prudent cash management. If anyone asks why it's always 4s and 9s, you lean on the old superstition about lucky numbers and hope the auditor doesn't believe in math. Memo lines are where euphemism earns its tip. BP trust payout roof reads like shingles, not siphon. Fuel advance sounds like a tractor, not a getaway car. Caregiver stipend is engineered to shame questions. If you're feeling poetic, you try farm stability because it clicks with casseroles and church bulletins. None of that changes the ACH batch ID that marches from joint 4321 to shell 88-11 like ants who studied calendars. Shell LLCs are Halloween costumes. You buy a name at a formation site that promises privacy packages. Pick a P.O. box near a coffee shop you don't go to, and slap strategy or holdings after your last name like you've read a finance book. The office is a rented mailbox wedged between a vape store and a dry cleaner. On paper, Rowan Strategy invoices for consulting. In reality, it's a slide shoot. Money enters dressed as work and exits dressed as silence. Joint consulting accounts are siphon lanes in business casual. You add yourself to an elder's profile as a convenience signer. Tell the banker you'll only pay bills, then open a second account that shares a nickname with a product no one sells. You route funds between them at vampire hours because you're busy, and the night crew likes donuts. When compliance asks why, you perform a 5-part harmony about caregiving, gas prices, and that darn roof. It's a lullaby. The logs don't sleep. ATM pulls are the cash leg. You don't drain in daylight. You do 11:07 p.m., 1:43 a.m., 2:14 a.m., 4 branches in rotation, so the camera angles change, but your hoodie doesn't. You keep each pull under reporting thresholds and spread them across weekends you'll later swear were spent folding laundry. Your receipts smell like powdered sugar because the donut run doubles as moral cover. The register clerk remembers the sprinkles. The camera remembers your plate. Compliance flags override logins that shouldn't exist. Post-termination credentials tapping living accounts are a confession printed in audit font. Sharing passwords seems friendly until your manager profile is a subway turnstile at 9:02 p.m. on Thursdays. The fix is boring. Unique credentials, audits that bite, calls to listed counsel before anyone waves a POA. Thieves hate boring. They prefer the back door and a prayer. The language you use gives you away. People who say stability 5 times in 20 minutes are laundering fear through vocabulary. People who say discretion more than once are laundering power. People who say sentimental items while palming a pen are laundering appetite. It's all the same cycle. Soften, split, spread, deny, and rehearse. You decorate it with tissue, but the pattern squeaks. The cleanup has a dialect too. Restitution sounds like a Latin class. It's just money going home. Reversals feel like time travel. They're simply keystrokes with supervision. SAR isn't a threat word. It's a promise of daylight. And the best line isn't clever at all. It's this: show me the invoice, not the sentence. A bank that learns to prefer front doors over empathy theater will catch euphemism in a net of small square holes. Structuring is cowardice at scale. Shells are paper bravado. Memos are costumes. You can title a theft roof all you want. The ledger still knows the weather. Character reckonings. Lorna asked to meet at the picnic table Grandpa built, the one that lists a little because he refused to level anything twice. She came without armor, hair undone, cardigan wrinkled like sleep didn't want her. I sat, left space, and kept my voice on the setting Grandpa called fence quiet. She started with weather, then ran out of sky. "I'm not a villain," she said, eyes on the grain. "I'm decisive." He needed decisive. I let the word sit until it got uncomfortable. "You keep choosing control and calling it care," she swallowed. "I can fix things. I always could." "You can fix fence boards," I said. "You can't fix signatures?" She winced like pressure finding a bruise. "Why do you talk like that?" "Because he taught me to count." She tried the softer script she rehearsed for the TV and never learned for herself. I panicked. The farm felt bigger than me. I nodded. "It is bigger than you. Bigger than me too. That's why the ledger exists." She looked at the house and finally asked the only honest question I'd heard from her all year. "Can I ever come back?" "As what?" I asked. "As the person who signs for him?" "No." "As a sister who stays on the road and uses the front door?" "Maybe." Her chin trembled. "I don't know how to not manage." "Then let the math manage you," I said. "It's gentler than I am." Pete showed up on a Thursday with that same angry walk, like he expected Gravel to apologize. He stood a little too close, and then didn't. "I'm supposed to say you ruined my life," he started. "Say it then," I said. He stared at his boots. "I did the loading. I took the welder. I liked the back door because it made me feel like somebody." I didn't clap. He rubbed his jaw. "Fisher made me sign something called a corrective plan." I laughed once. "Somebody finally gave you chores." He huffed. "I could have swung." "You didn't," I said. "That's the first good decision on your page." He jammed his hands in his pockets and pulled out a folded picture of Grandpa holding a fish too small to brag about. He took the hook out gentle, Pete said. Gentle is different than nice. I nodded. Start there. Maya came last, like always, after she watched everyone else fall. She brought sloppy joes and a new voice. Not the helium soft one she uses to frost trouble, the voice she used when we were kids, and she confessed to breaking the salt shaker. I wanted so badly for us to look good, she said, shoulders up to her ears. He always said, keep it honest, I said. She smiled without teeth. Honesty isn't pretty on Instagram. I waited. She sat beside me and didn't reach for a script. I knew about the printer. The room did a small tilt. How much? Enough to say stop, not enough to make her listen. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. She squeezed the napkin like it could answer. Because you'd stop it. And then I'd be between her and the truth, and I like living. The joke didn't land. She breathed out. I'm sorry. Not the PR kind. I carried the ladder and watched her climb kind. I let the silence accept it. You're barred from the property, I said, but not from owning the apology. She nodded like it hurt. I'll bring it monthly with the restitution. Bring it with fewer adjectives, I said. She laughed once and wiped her eyes with the napkin she'd murdered. That night, Aunt Dee called to tell me family first, like it was an incantation. I told her Grandpa's version. Family first means nobody steals from the table. She sighed long enough to cross a county line. You sound like him. Good, I said. The town can keep its jokes. I'll keep his sentences. Before bed, I put the deed and the examiner's report in the safe, pen on top like a compass. I unplugged the TV again, not out of superstition, out of respect. In the quiet, the house said what it always says when you stop narrating at it. Keep your word, keep your books, check your fence, sleep. I did, for once, without the glow of someone else's rehearsal in the room. Epilogue. The farm, the ledger. The TV morning started with the hinge squeak I know by heart and the smell of barn dust settling. I took the ledger from the safe, set it open on the counter, and laid Grandpa's stained pen across the gutter like a quiet bridge. New entry tabs waited, fence staples, diesel, a check to the volunteer fire fund that matched the bank's apology. I wrote clean numbers that lined up like fence posts. No euphemisms, no nicknames. Vendor, invoice, amount, paid. Boring is a blessing when the last month tried to make excitement a lifestyle. The farm felt honest again in small, measurable ways. Louise stopped by at dawn with thermoses and bad jokes, and we signed his contract with more words about overtime than friendship because he deserves both. I walked the north fence and counted in twos the way Grandpa taught when you're checking staples and thinking straight. The wind came off the corn with that low engine sound, and somewhere a hawk decided breakfast was a mouse with poor timing. It's strange how quickly normal returns when you stop feeding it fireworks. I put the smart TV back on its stand and looped the cord neatly without plugging it in. Not a superstition, just respect. It did its job too well and earned a nap. I labeled a thumb drive movie night archive, sealed it in a bag with the chain of custody affidavit, and slid it behind the ledger like a finished chapter. If the court ever wants a rerun, the front door is open. If I ever want quiet, the cord stays coiled. In the office, I taped 3 sentences above the desk in Grandpa's block letters. Keep your word, keep your books, keep your fence. Under it, I added my own in smaller pen. No cash, no shortcuts, no back doors. Vendors got emails with new terms and replies came back faster than I expected. People like clarity. So do tractors. We scheduled maintenance with the shop down county that writes real receipts and crosses their 7s without being asked. The town adjusted in predictable ways. Fewer long conversations, more nods, a pie on the porch that tasted like apology and butter. Fisher sent a photo of the training slide with Grandpa's name at the bottom, Elder Risk Scholarship. I sent back a time that starts before their office lights, and she replied, "We'll bring coffee and gravel." Dwyer called to say the examiner's full report slid into the file with a sound that satisfied him more than victory speeches. I told him I was mending a gate, and he said, "Good. Courts prefer gates that latch." At dusk, I sat where Grandpa used to count crows and watched the field turn metallic before it softened. The safe clicked shut soft as a promise. I ran a thumb over the pin stain and thought about all the ways you can be decisive without turning it into theft. Lorna will learn, or she won't. Pete might finish his corrective plan and discover chores are a kind of mercy. Maya will bring restitution and fewer adjectives. The farm will hum regardless, because land forgives slower than people but steadier than courts. Inside, the office lamp threw a warm circle on the ledger, like a stage I finally want to stand on. I wrote one more line. Donation cleared, fence repaired, sleep. Then I turned the lamp off, let the house settle into its ordinary creaks, and left the TV's cord coiled like a snake that won the war and chose not to bite. The last sound was the fridge doing its work, a rhythm you can trust. Stability isn't a speech, it's a hum you can set your day to. The safe clicked, the pin rested, and the TV's cord lay coiled, quiet tools holding a place that finally felt level. If you want the printer dot breakdown that made a judge lean forward and the bank playbook that turned reversals into receipts, the next video goes deep and stays boring. Subscribe, drop your device snitched stories, and send this to the cousin who says stability too often. Keep your word, keep your books, then press play on the truth.